I'm very proud of the election success that Labour had recently. We won votes across all different communities.
And Donald Trump is killing, thousands of Americans by giving them duff advice and his macho, I'm all right, look at me, I've survived COVID.
Angela Rayner didn't mince her words when she called Donald Trump macho and threw in some sharp criticism during an old interview. And if there's one thing Trump isn't known for, it's letting things slide. His entire brand is built on being bold and unapologetic, so when he caught wind of Rayner's comments, you can bet he wasn't going to ignore them. For Trump, an insult isn't just a passing remark, it's a challenge. And true to form, he hit back without hesitation. Before we move on, we'd love to know, are you enjoying the video? If you are, don't forget to hit like, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel for more exclusive updates on the major shifts in British politics. All right, let's dive back in.
He has no place in the White House. He's an embarrassment, and he should be ashamed of himself, especially when thousands of Americans have died. COVID is a serious disease. It's a serious pandemic. People have died, loved ones have died, and he's an absolute disgrace. And so is Boris Johnson for not being able to even know his own rules. I think they're both idiots, and we deserve better than them.
Buffoon, ashamed of himself, embarrassment. I think that woman needs to look in a blimmin' mirror. Maybe Lord Ali can afford to buy her one.
This wasn't just a minor disagreement. It poured fuel on an already strained relationship between Trump and the UK Labour Party. And it didn't take long for Trump to hit back. Not just with words, but with real consequences. Tariffs, economic pressure, and political maneuvering quickly came into play, and that's where the real impact began. These comments weren't just personal. They triggered a chain reaction that could come at a serious cost to the UK. Now, the Labour Party has far more to worry about than just political tensions.
This is very exciting, but it's also exciting because of what's happening with other aspects. We're going to be doing tariffs on pharmaceuticals in order to bring our pharmaceutical industry back. We don't make anything here in terms of drugs, medical drugs, different types of drugs that you need, medicines. It's in other countries, largely made in China, a lot of it made in Ireland. Ireland was very smart. We love Ireland.
After Angela Rayner's remarks about Donald Trump, the fallout went beyond just an exchange of insults. Trump hit back in a way that had real consequences by imposing trade tariffs on the UK. He specifically targeted key industries like steel and aluminium, both vital to the UK economy. The impact was immediate. British businesses and workers bore the brunt of it. The tariffs drove up costs, making goods more expensive and putting even more pressure on the manufacturing sector where many were already struggling.
Trend lines Angela Rayner make a good Prime Minister.
Well, I don't think me predicting who the next leader of the Labour Party should be is a good idea. But in terms of your challenge, do we need a female leader of the Labour Party? You bet we do. I hope that happens. But in the meantime, I intend to act on the mandate that we got in the last election and deliver the change that people want across the country. And it is fantastic to have Angela Rayner by my side as my Deputy Prime Minister as we go through this.
Trump wasn't just making empty threats. He meant business. His actions had real economic consequences, and the UK government found itself at a crossroads. Should they try to mend ties with Trump or risk even more damage to their economy? This wasn't just political drama. It had real-world effects on British citizens who felt the impact of his trade war. Karma's approach to Trump came across as pure political maneuvering, and it didn't sit well with many. When he visited the White House before Trump left office, he tried to present himself as an ally, even praising Trump's stance on free speech. But behind the scenes, it was a different story. While Starmer and his Labour Party publicly flattered Trump, they were privately critical of him, making their stance seem anything but sincere.
I've been looking at what's going on in Britain, whether it's talking about the clampdown on free speech. Elon Musk has gone to town on that one. Joe Rogan, the biggest podcast that you could listen to in the world, has been really making a big noise about what he sees as authoritarian rule in the UK. Add to that these extremely sort of toxic, irresponsible, reckless and unprofessional comments. I don't care whether it's coming from someone on the opposition benches and what position they held or didn't hold. It's just not becoming of an elected member.
This hypocrisy hasn't gone unnoticed. especially now that Angela Rayner's comments have surfaced. Trump now sees the full extent of Labour's double dealing, and the mixed messaging from Starr and his team has only deepened the confusion and mistrust between the UK and the US. For Trump, this isn't just about politics. It's a clear reminder that trying to play both sides rarely ends well. As a result, the UK finds itself in an awkward position, tangled in political contradictions. Starmer's remarks about free speech during his meeting with Trump highlight a glaring inconsistency. While he publicly expressed support for Trump's stance on free speech, his actions back in the UK told a different story. Rather than standing by the principles he had praised, Starmer and the Labour Party continued to push against Trump's policies, exposing the gap between words and actions.
You've all taken a 2.8% pay rise as agreed by the MP's pay review body.
The pay review body is independent.
Hang on a second, is that particularly working class? All those things taken together, is that working class? All those things taken
together, Tom, I've just explained to you, the winter fuel allowance people are over £400 better off because we protected the triple lock, we protected the most vulnerable. I've just explained to you the welfare and the principles and the values that we will protect those that need it and make sure that they get the support, and we've got to make sure that people can get into work. And in terms of the pay rise, MPs do not have any control over that. That is completely independent of government, and that was brought in some years ago, and that is the rules on that. That is not nothing within our control on that.
And you could give it back though, couldn't you? At a time of cuts, people see the Chancellor, the Deputy Prime Minister getting paid.
Administratively, trying to give it back is more of a nightmare.
This move left many people questioning Starr's sincerity. It's easy to make statements of support in front of the cameras, but following through with real action is a different matter. Labour's mixed signals didn't just strain their relationship. With Trump, they also alienated their own supporters. Voters who believed Labour stood for free speech and honesty were left wondering if they could still trust Starr's leadership. He found himself walking a fine line between political pragmatism and staying true to his promises, a balancing act that has ultimately hurt the UK's image. Labour's attempts to play both sides of the Trump issue have backfired. On one hand, they've criticised him, but on the other, they've tried to maintain diplomatic ties by being overly cautious and accommodating. The result is a messy, inconsistent political stance, one that Trump has no trouble seeing through. For him, this kind of double-dealing doesn't work, and it has only made the UK's position look weak and uncertain.
We also know that there have been infringements on free speech that actually affect not just the British, of course what the British do in their own country is up to them, but also affect American technology companies and by extension American citizens. So that is something that we'll talk about today at lunch.
We've had free speech for a very, very long time in the United Kingdom, and it will last for a very, very long time. Well, no, I mean, certainly we wouldn't want to reach across US citizens, and we don't, and that's absolutely right. But in relation to free speech in the UK, I'm very proud of our history there.
The fallout isn't just a diplomatic issue. It's eroding Labour's trust among its supporters. Voters who want a clear, honest approach are starting to feel let down by Starmer and Rayner's mixed messages. The party's credibility is on the line, as it appears more concerned with political correctness than standing by its principles. This uncertainty could drive potential voters away, further weakening Labour's position. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has always valued loyalty and directness. Unlike many politicians who shy away from confrontation, he thrives on open conflict, especially when he feels betrayed. His reaction to Angela Rayner's comments only reinforces his belief that Labour has been dishonest with him. For Trump, disloyalty makes you a target.
Parliament, that's why you're campaigning as a member of the Labour Party. It is very short-sighted to make these kind of comments about a major world leader if you're going to have to end up working with them. Now, I think that, as you say, Donald Trump obviously is someone who can move on, who can be a bit transactional, and so there's hope there. But I think it's interesting what it means for other people around him in his team, particularly when it comes to some of those intelligence and sensitive matters, because obviously with the defence apparatus between the two countries, the US and the UK, is so well interconnected.
Trump's response isn't just about words, it's about action. He's using every tool at his disposal, from economic pressure to political leverage, to get what he wants. And he's not likely to back down unless he sees more transparency and loyalty from the UK's leadership. If Labour continues to hedge its bets and play both sides, Trump will keep pushing back. That could mean more tariffs, trade restrictions, and even diplomatic isolation. For Trump, the message is clear: be upfront and loyal or face the consequences. But this isn't just about a personal spat between Trump and the UK's leaders. It's already shaping the broader US-UK relationship. His retaliatory tariffs are a prime example of how personal grievances can spill over into politics, leading to real economic consequences. And now, the UK finds itself in a tough spot. If Labour doesn't handle Trump's criticisms carefully, they could put crucial trade deals and diplomatic negotiations at risk. The bigger concern is that the UK is at risk of becoming a pawn in US domestic politics. Labour's inconsistent approach to Trump has left the UK vulnerable, raising questions about whether they can count on steady support from the US as Trump continues to play hardball. The UK may struggle to secure favourable trade deals, especially when Labour's mixed signals have only added to the uncertainty. The US-UK alliance is at a crossroads, and how Britain navigates this fallout will shape its standing on the global stage.
This actually gives a very strong arm to Nigel Farage, doesn't it? Because we know that he does indeed have Sir Keir Starmer's ear, doesn't have it, it's mighty, you never know, does have Donald Trump's ear. And my understanding as well is there might have been a little bit of encouragement by Nigel Farage to say to Donald Trump, hey, have a look at this Chagos Islands stuff, and guess what? He's looking at it. So this is going to create a bit of a headache for the Labour Party, because they're probably going to have to go and cosy up to Nigel Farage a little bit if they want to have an interlocutor who could be quite effective in that position.
Back in May, there was reports actually that Nigel Farage had been very important in facilitating that conversation between David Lammy, then the Shadow Foreign Secretary, and JD Vance, and getting those meetings over the line. And I asked Nigel about this, and he sort of just grinned and didn't downplay it, shall we say. So I do think
Starmer's handling of the Trump issue has sparked serious concerns about his leadership within the Labour Party. His failure to take a clear and consistent stance on international diplomacy has drawn criticism, not just from political opponents, but also from within his own party. The situation became even more complicated after Rayner's comments, which added to the confusion. Starmer's mixed signals have left Labour looking uncertain and weak on the global stage. Internally, frustration is growing. Some Labour members feel his approach has damaged the party's credibility. Rather than standing firm on principles, Starmer has been accused of shifting positions to avoid conflict, making the party seem indecisive. These internal tensions could have long-term consequences. As party members begin to question whether Starmer is the right leader to navigate the UK's political challenges, Labour's cracks are starting to show. The bigger concern is whether they can repair the damage. Meanwhile, the world is watching closely. The UK's relationship with Trump is under scrutiny, and Labour's uncertain stance is raising eyebrows. Longtime allies may start questioning whether they can rely on Labour as a stable partner in global affairs. If the party continues to send mixed signals, it could make other nations hesitant to enter into trade deals or diplomatic agreements with the UK.
Trade deals or diplomatic agreements with the UK.
A guy in America has to say about Britain.
You've said, and the Prime Minister said, that he's crossed a line. Therefore, why don't you do something about the fact that he's crossed that line and prosecute him, use the existing laws on hate speech?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not qualified to judge whether he's broken the law or not. And to be honest, I've spent most of my time in recent days thinking about, and by the way, I'll be spending all of my time in the coming weeks and days thinking about how I can turn the NHS around and build a social care system fit for the future.
But would you like that to be looked at?
I'll be spending precisely zero time thinking about what Elon Musk thinks about this or anything else. I really don't care what a guy in America has to say about Britain. What I care about is what we, the British government, can deliver for the British people, and that's what we're focused on.
Except he's not just a guy in America, is he? He is going to be in Donald Trump's cabinet. Donald Trump should be, the Prime Minister's talked.
This situation also places the UK in a vulnerable position, potentially facing political isolation as it grapples with the complexities of post-Brexit trade negotiations. Labour's inconsistent stance on Trump may be perceived as a sign of weakness, especially with the already delicate US-UK relationship. As a result, the UK could face a challenging path ahead, trying to uphold strong international alliances while navigating the fallout from this diplomatic misstep. The ongoing uncertainty around the country's political direction Only add